RLTK podcast. Jordan here, chilling with my boy Chris. Chris, what is going on, my boy?
What's up, man? I'm chilling.
Chilling?
I'm chilling, big
What you been up to?
Working, thinking, eating.
That sounds about right for you.
Yeah.
In no particular order.
In no particular
maybe
order.
at the same time.
Maybe at the same time, man. You know? Yeah. I wish
No doubt.
I wish I could eat, sleep, and think at the same time. That would be actually
Eat, sleep, and think? That sounds terrible.
At
Why
the
would you want to be
same
thinking
time.
while you're sleeping? I don't understand.
Bro, the amount of dreams that I be bro. Dreams don't make sense to me. We need to have a podcast about dreams because it don't make no sense to me at all.
Hey, bro.
I don't
You
understand.
be having them prophetic dreams or what?
I don't know.
That's
know.
crazy.
I had a thought the other day because I had a dream that was very weird. But I don't know if I can be this is
Left field?
this is way left field.
Okay.
But my mind, I think, can I actually interact with people on the other side of the realm?
The other side of the realm?
Yeah.
What do you mean the realm?
Like the realm that you can't see.
Oh, the metaphysical?
Yeah. So I just thought about that. It's pretty interesting. I be having conversations sometimes, and sometimes you know how they talk to you and they say interesting things when you try to remember, but you forget really quickly. It's just interesting. Like I said, we need to have a conversation about dreams. It's just weird how you can have an interesting interaction in your dreams. And I think
I get you. I'm tracking with what you're saying.
I think it means something. It's crazy.
Maybe.
Like sometimes I have full movies in my dreams. From beginning to the end. And I'm like, that's actually a good idea. Like I got 5 movies in my head.
Your brain actually processes information where you sleep. Like it's how our brain crops memories, stores memories, all these different types of things. So your brain is actually like doing the work of making sense of everything you've experienced while you're asleep. That's what REM sleep is.
So you think dreams is just the mind working?
I don't know. That's a good question, though.
I think that's interesting.
Yeah. We're going to save it for another day, though.
Gosh, bro, that, you understand how good that, bro? Dream, that could be an actual answer. The dreams you have is your mind. Not well. All right. Yeah, you're right.
Well, now's a good time to introduce Will, our guest.
Oh, man.
Guest number 2. Will, what do you think about dreams, bro? I know it's a random question, but why not ask it?
Oh, man.
I think it's isn't that a song by Wale or something like that? J. Cole. He's like, Martin had a dream. Something had a dream. I think dreams are amazing. Truth is, I think dreams are more than midnight memories. They're blueprint for our purpose and destiny. And so the things that we experience in our dreams are oftentimes God's pushing and prodding for us to go after something that I don't know, we have a hard time experiencing. But here's the truth is, if I can see it with my mind or even my eye, I can believe it in my heart. And so I believe God sometimes
imagination.
Yeah.
He puts things there so that we'll go, okay, and then he'll confirm it in another way, but it'll start often in our dreams.
That's good.
It is imagination. Yeah. Interesting.
So Will,
yes, sir.
Super grateful you jumped on the pod with us, bro. Glad to have you here.
Yes, sir.
First of all, you like basketball?
I do now.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
So I being a strong 5'5", 5'6" in my church shoes, basketball was never really my sport. It's nothing like you go to do a layup and they're like, get that out of here. So it kind of like doesn't make you really want to play all that often. But my son, my oldest, he is enamored. And he's just excited about the game of basketball. And so as any good parent would do, you like it, I love it.
That's dope.
Yes, sir.
That's good. So you from Texas, the great state of Texas. So obviously that means you're a Cowboys fan. And that means that you're a Dallas Mavs fan, right?
Absolutely not.
And a Houston Texans fan. No, and a Texas Rangers fan.
Yes, sir.
Never that.
You ain't got no choice. You ain't got no choice.
We ride for the Texans, the Stros,
Garbage.
the Rockets, the Dynamo, and any other team that's rocking Houston in front of it.
Yeah, you crazy.
Oh,
that's unfortunate.
That hurts my heart.
That's terrible. But hey, bro, tell us a little bit about you. Who are you? Share your story with us. Where are you from? What do you do? How did you get to where you're at, man?
Yes, sir.
How'd I get? Well, I took 288 and I exited the Beltway.
I'm dead.
And then that's how I got where I'm at. But seriously, man, I'm Will Cumby. I am the national director for the Fuel Networks, powered by UYWI DVULI. Pretty much my job is to network and resource urban youth leaders across the country. We've got 10 cities that we're currently in, and we're growing annually to more cities to help leaders realize that ministry should never be done alone. I grew up in Houston, Texas. After I graduated from high school, I went to the Oral Roberts University in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the heyday, the happy days when everything was hopping. And when I graduated from Oral Roberts, I came back to Houston and started serving. Well, true story. I did what every person who has a communications degree does when they graduate. I started working for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I think that's like the official job of every person with a communications degree. And then I started volunteering at my church, fell in love with ministry. I think it was always in me. The truth is, I don't think that God was chasing me because he had already given me what he told me I would do. Right. So we were like, man, when I stopped running from God, well, if I was running, that meant that God was chasing. And I don't think God was chasing. He's like, I was there the whole time.
That's good.
But my eyes were finally opened, right? Like the story says, the scales were removed. And I mean, I've been doing youth ministry for over 25 years, and now I have the opportunity to help other urban youth leaders across the country.
That's dope, bro. I love that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm married, got 3 kids. That's the best part of my life, though. Best part of my life is my wife and my 3 children. Yeah.
Let's go. That's dope. Shout out to UYWI, by the way, UYWI.org. And then what is it? FuelNetworkPartners.org or is it .com?
FuelNetworkPartners.org. Shout out to the U in the 80s. Okay, yeah.
I'm dead.
It was a song.
But yeah.
You remember that?
Super grateful for you, bro.
Nah.
So,
gotta look it up now.
Tell me a little bit more about like what it was like growing up. Like how did you come to faith? That type of stuff. I'm curious.
I got the church boy story. So my mom, diehard believer, grandparents, diehard believers, my dad, diehard Catholic. So it's nothing like going to a Southern Baptist church 3 Sundays out the month and then hitting a good Catholic mass every now and then. But it was good life. So all I know is the Bible, right? That's I grew up on that. And some people that kind of hardens their heart towards the gospel and hardens their heart because it's like, I've just done this whole my life. But actually, because of the way the gospel was presented to me, it makes sense. I don't see anything else. It was never this hard-nosed, hey, sinner, go to hell kind of thing. It was like, man, God's love is so fantastic. Let me share it with you. And then who doesn't love wood floors and wooden pews and grandmas tapping their souls on that wood floor and an organ hitting it and a choir singing? Like that's churching for me. But yeah,
people doing laps.
Yeah,
getting their laps in.
See Deacon so get up, he unbuttoned that jacket, throw it back behind him, and he get to running. Bruh, you ain't had a good time till you seen somebody do about 4 laps on a good worship song.
Bruh, facts. Sister Johnson over there passed out, 10 fans around her fanning her.
10 fans and a peppermint. You done had some service.
Sweating that grease out.
Hey, listen. And when that preacher hold on to that ear and rear back, listen. I'm happy. Some people be like, man, I don't need it. Man, listen. I love it. But just because I love it doesn't mean that that's my style of teaching. So I think there's a space for it. But I'm not the one that's going to rear back and hold my ear. But I love that word. I love that word.
Yeah.
That's good, bro. How does any of that like inform the way you engage ministry now? Because I know some people would look at that and just be like, yo, that's wild. That's like crazy, like silly. But like what about that, like the things that you learned there has informed how you move in ministry now? Has it? You know what I mean?
Mm.
I think it's informed the way I move ministry and the fact that because you speak the Queen's English, you probably shop at Whole Foods and I shop at Kroger. I can't judge you. Here's the point, is that sometimes there's preference when it comes to church. And I can't judge you for the way you prefer or you've experienced God or experienced the way God was presented to you. The point is, the Bible says there's only one way to the Father, and that's through Jesus. And if you're preaching Jesus, it's not the message that needs to change, but the method. And when we get to a place where the method makes sense for you, I'm for it, as long as the foundation, the root, the cornerstone, the chief cornerstone is still Jesus' death, burial, and resurrection.
Yeah.
Dope.
Facts.
Dope.
Facts.
Which I think brings me to my next question for you. Who, me?
Yeah.
Nah, we go Sprouts sometimes.
See,
bro, I mean, real rap though. Well, listen, bro. I was living that Sprouts life before this recession, bro. You know what I'm saying, bro? Now it's like, hey, Aldi, like, bro, wherever the deals are, bro. Wherever the deals are, that's where we going, bro.
Aldi's
wherever
so
food's cheapest that week, that's where we going. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, yo, we got to make this money stretch. You know what I'm saying? Like, whoa.
Listen, I throw that out there as a joke, but you know, people are really that way. They're like, "Oh, so you don't shop here?" Like, they both sell the same thing. But
facts.
I can't judge you. That's just your preference.
That's good.
I can laugh about it, but you know, anyway.
Yeah.
So talk to me about youth ministry in Houston, bro. Like, what's going on? What are you seeing? Like, what's the landscape out there?
What I do know about ministry is that suffering is universal. I just got back from a mission trip to Brazil, and I had the opportunity a few years ago to do a trip to Israel, and I've been to several countries. And as interesting as it is to see people who have graffiti on the walls in America, it's on the walls across the seas. As much as I see kids who are suffering from abandonment by their parents, broken hearts from their relationships, or even uncertainty about their relationship with Jesus Christ, it's all over the world. Even violence, you know, we see that there's a rise in gun violence across the world. What makes Houston different from anyone else is the street that it happens on. Right? It's happening, but it's just the street is only in Houston. It's not about the street, but the name of the street, right? It's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
It's coming down. The same stuff that's coming down my street is coming down your street. The difference is, how do we address it? Houston is amazing. I love Houston. It's this is my home. That's where I grew up. I think it's becoming the next media capital of the country with everything that's happening in Texas. So with that brings a lot more energy and attention and crowded streets and freeways, but Jesus still matters. And people need him even more.
That's good, bro. Yeah, I think that's a good word. I think sometimes we think there's maybe something too unique about our cities, and not saying that there isn't uniqueness about them, right? Like, they have their own stories and histories, and people speak a little bit different in their cities, and, you know, value different things in the context of those cities, but people are still hurting, suffering is still happening, violence is still happening, broken homes are still happening. You know, like those things are, suffering is not unique to a particular locale, it's worldwide. That's true. That's good.
Yes.
That's good.
Absolutely.
I think something interesting about suffering. There's this movie called Professor and the Madman. Okay. I don't know if you ever seen it, but it's about the first dictionary, and this professor was a professor at I forgot the name of the college. It was at like one of the top colleges. What's not Princeton, or what was
Yale?
It? Yeah, no, not Yale. It'll come to me. But anyways, he was a professor who was creating the first dictionary for that college. And there was this one guy called he was clinically insane. And he was but he was brilliant. He was one of those guys who was not right, but yet he was brilliant. And he was in a mentally one of those mental facilities. And they was friends, and he helped him write the dictionary, and he said madness has language. And I think what's interesting about the reason why I said it is because that suffering has a particular language. Madness, sadness, these things has a particular way of articulating itself that happiness cannot. And I think this is something that the church has to be in tune to, right? It's like we want to preach the language of hope, but we have to understand the language of suffering. And I think there is a gap in how we communicate to the world about the hope that we have been given. And I think sometimes it may be missed because of the lack of understanding of the language of suffering.
Yeah, I think to jump on that point, I think what's interesting about this, and Will, you can jump on it whenever you're ready, but in terms of the concept of suffering, we often, I think in certain contexts, it's like I'm victorious in Christ, like everything's all good, I'm blessed and highly favored. And so like we say those things, and I get what you're saying, but there's a lack of acknowledgement about the difficulty of life, about the suffering that exists and that is like coming for all of us. Like Father Time is undefeated. Like you finna catch illness. You finna, you know what I'm saying, get, brittle. Like those things are going to happen to you. You are going to suffer. Friends are going to die. Parents are going to die. Loved ones. You know what I'm saying? Like tragedy is around the corner. And I just think like oftentimes we don't do a good job of talking about that stuff. And I think that actually, like to your point, creates a distance between us and people. And I think honestly too, it creates distance between us and youth, like the lack of authenticity in how we're sharing what's going on in our lives. You know what I'm saying? Any thoughts, Will?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I get that. I think it's not that I have to, when we say shared suffering, that doesn't mean that because you went through it, oh, well, yeah, let me one up you and tell you how I went through it or went through it worse. I think a lot of it is just recognizing to say, I see you. I see that you're going through some things. I recognize and I validate the fact that you have gone through something. I think sometimes we try to, de-escalate people's feelings, when I think we need to sit with it and be like, those are your feelings and they're valid. Even if I'm like, that really wasn't that big of a deal. We have to be like, I feel you. Like that's hard for you. That's been a challenge. I think if you remember the story, Jesus is like towards the latter part of his life, and this mom comes up, because how awesome are moms? Moms are always like fighting for their kiddos, right? They want their kids to, you're a soccer coach, they're like, hey, my son needs to be like, put my son right. That's my guy, right? So this mom comes up and he's like, hey, so my sons, can they be with you in heaven? Sit on your left and your right. Right? You know the story. And Jesus is like, I don't think that. Do you know what you're asking for? Because what we're saying is, are they willing to take this suffering? Are they willing to do this? Right? I can't tell you you're going to sit on my left and right, but what I am telling you is there's going to be some suffering for this. And we find out that those boys did go through some suffering. They went through it. Yeah. But we have to, I think, in the leadership positions where we serve, in our ministries, in our homes, and our communities, it's not so much about like lording over someone, having a position of hierarchy, but coming from a position of empathy, a position of Like, hey, if we want to see change in our communities, in our cities, in our homes, getting to a place. I love how Jesus, there's a scripture verse, I can't think of it, but he says like he stoops down to hear us. And I love that.
Mm.
I love that. I know what Jesus said, God, he stoops down. And I think we need to get to that place more often. And stop seeing us as being the big man on the stage, but being the platform for elevating Jesus. Because he says, if I be lifted up, I'll draw all men. I'll do the drawing, but lift me up.
Yeah.
Recognize their suffering. But anyway, I can go on and on because this is a kind of a heartstring for me.
Yeah.
That's good. Go ahead, bro.
My bad.
Go ahead.
I'm all for that because I think something that I wrestle with myself is judgment, and not in the sense of not in the idea that I'm judging people, but in the idea of why do we judge in the first place? Because again, when it comes to suffering, when it comes to evil, I don't think we can actually judge evil. Like, how can we? I don't know if we can actually accurately judge evil, because we all share in that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think we understand how dark our souls really is.
Come on.
I don't think we understand how scary we can actually affect somebody's life, even if it's for an hour or 5 seconds or for 20 years. Like, suffering is like the besides death, I think suffering is the great equalizer. Because if you really look at it, if you really understand it, or if you just sympathize with it, it's like we all do that. And to your point, it's like we do try to one up people sometimes with suffering. Oh man, that's nothing, bro. Let me tell you what I've been through. Whoop. And it's almost in a sense of you should feel shameful of what you've been through personally. And it's like, I don't think it's about that. This is not a ranking system. This is to show that everyone has problems. Everyone struggles with truth, identity, relating, living, happiness. Everyone struggles with this thing of existing. So regardless of the levels of suffering or regardless of any of that, it doesn't matter because we all struggle with existing. And I think that's the point, right? I think suffering to a degree just reveals the fact that it's hard to exist. And I don't think we can actually I think suffering shows that you actually don't have a right to judge anybody. That's the point I was trying to make, you know? Yeah.
Jumping back into that, like I found the scripture verse, Psalms 116, verse 2, where he says, God bends down to listen to us. Like, how dope is that? Psalm 116, verse 2. But the other part is it's easy to judge until it becomes your issue. Right.
Yeah.
So I used to be the dad. I used to name the dad. I was the person that was like, how dare you skip Sunday for sports? Till my son started playing AAU. I used to be the person that'd be like, how can you allow your kid to have hair all over their head and you have a haircut? Until one day I was looking at my kid and I was like, man, you need a haircut. I was the one that would say, how can you not have time for this until it became my issue? And I think sometimes that happens. I know it's a not even a silly analogy, but even a switch to the song that Michael Jackson saying, you know, I got to look at the man in the mirror. And we do a really good job of looking at the other men, but not the one that's in the mirror to see like, bro, I'm struggling with the same stuff. It just looks different. Abandonment is not relegated to low income communities. Alcoholism is not relegated to those who don't have a whole lot of money, just the same as money issues aren't relegated to those who have a lot of money. Right? It's all there. It's relative. The fact of the matter is we all have struggles. We all have sin, but we all have access to the same Savior.
That's good, bro. It's interesting what you just said about sports. And, I see a lot of different people there's a lot of dialogue, I think, about this, particularly in like the youth ministry space, right? Because there's a bunch of kids playing sports, and it's like, yo, you should be bringing your kids to church. And I think that's true. But also, like you're saying, like there are going to be situations or circumstances where kids don't like show up because they're playing ball or they're doing this or doing that, whatever. And I think in the past, we've done a real good job at like shaming people for that. One of the things I saw that was really cool at a church, like maybe a year or so ago, what they actually did was all the kids that were going to play sports and were going to end up missing some Sundays as a consequence, they actually brought them on stage and commissioned them to go be missionaries. And so they said basically like, hey, go out into the world and make disciples. Like you're about to be playing sports on your sports teams. And we understand like that means in terms of your participation in services, it's going to like drop down some. But what we want you to understand is like God is sending you into the world to be an evangelist, to go disciple people, to go tell people about Jesus, teach your teammates about Jesus. And so I think that was a really cool spin on like that situation, instead of like, yo, you're not a Christian because you're not coming to church. No, go into the world and be a Christian. You know what I'm saying? Go into the world and make disciples. Go into the world and talk to your teammates about Jesus. Encourage them in their faith, and then, bring them to church when you have the opportunity to. So I thought that was just a really cool way of kind of looking at that conversation from maybe a little bit of a different perspective than we usually see in the youth sports Jesus space.
You're right. I mean, I have so many thoughts. Like, I think of like how we can judge the guy who's standing on the street with the sandwich board saying like, repent for Jesus coming. But then we have the water coolers at our office. Somebody's doing the same thing, saying like, hey, you need to know who Jesus is. I'm like, at the end of the day, we all need to use every opportunity we can to share the gospel, right? We've got to do it. So I can't judge the guy at the who's standing on the street when I'm not the guy standing at the water cooler, or I'm not the guy that's in the lunchroom, or I'm not the guy that's it's the dad that's on the sidelines of the soccer field that's like, hey man, like I see something's not right. Like, you want to talk about it? Like every day is an opportunity to be a witness, to share the gospel. The Bible calls us, Paul talks about being living epistles, right? That we are sometimes the only Bible that people read. And it doesn't mean that you got to have on a 3-piece suit, an organ, and a hoop. It's saying, how are you living this good news that you read about? Like how dare I be so adamant about my favorite sports team in every barbershop, restaurant, and office space, but not be able to have that same boldness to be like, bro, let me tell you how Jesus got me through.
That's good, bro. Yeah,
so you're
I
right.
agree.
The soccer field, the baseball diamond, the track, those are mission fields. Any place that you have the opportunity to share the gospel is a mission field, and it is our job. And especially with us coming onto the Easter weekend, bro, like many of us are mad that don't let me get you started, because I'm like on that space right there. Like, your check is whack because your hours are whack. And so the reason our numbers are low is not because the preacher ain't preaching hard. It's because the members aren't working hard.
That's interesting. But I mean, that speaks to like our whole model of church, right? Come and see model versus go and be.
Yeah.
That's good. So what are like some of the successes you're seeing in youth ministry right now in Houston? Some cool things that you're like, yo, this is a huge win, or maybe even some things that you're like, yo, I feel like you feel like we could learn from in terms of what's happening in your city.
Man, you know what? I'll say the success things of Houston is, bro, Houston is, the great thing about it is it's a community. Like it is, I don't want to say a gang, but it's almost gang like, because everybody here, the youth ministries, it is almost, we just did an event. Shout out to Sean Nelson, youth pastor over at Windsor Village.
Sean
put together, he's the Fuel Network director for Houston, and put together a fantastic event at the Toyota Center where the Rockets play. 1,200 people came, 15 churches, And can you imagine all of them in this one space? They watched the game, a devotional was said, a prayer was done. Someone else introduced all the churches, and it wasn't all about Sean. It wasn't all about like one group. It was a collaboration of communities and everybody getting some shine and kids getting to meet other kids, all under the umbrella of Jesus Christ. And how fantastic is that? Right? That's just one event, but it goes beyond that too. I've never seen where, now granted, there is always in anything you can, I love to say you'll find what you're looking for. Yeah, there's some division if that's what you're looking for. But I believe there's greater collaboration than there is division. But the reason I say that is because I'm not looking for the division. I'm looking at ways where we are collaborating. And I honestly can say Houston is good for doing that. Where we'll be like, hey, bro, what you need, I got it.
That's dope. How did you develop that? How long did it take? Because I'm assuming it took like cultivation over years to get to that place, right?
Man, you know what? I think when I first started in youth ministry in Houston, like 20 something years ago, what I did was whenever my pastor would have another pastor come to our church to preach, I immediately would reach out to their youth pastor and be like, hey, bro, I'm doing the same thing you're doing. What's up? And can I be honest? I never had any one of them turn me down for a conversation. And so I can't say when did it start, because I believe the first call I made, it worked. And many of those friends that I started hanging out with 20 something years ago are still my friends today. Not all of them are still in youth ministry, but the impressions that were made, the impacts that were made, the friendships that were made has changed the lives of youth across this nation and changed mine as well. But it's what didn't work. Bro. It's making those phone calls. It's going to other people's events, not looking for a check. It's moving chairs. It's showing up. It's taking the phone call, crying with people who are crying, celebrating with people who are celebrating. And the other part, I love to promote other people's stuff, even if I don't have a direct benefit. It's kingdom, man.
I bet that goes a long way, bro. Just like intentionally promoting other people's stuff.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing in that for you. And I think that communicates to another youth pastor or another youth leader, like, yo, this person really is on my side. Because I think sometimes, in our youth ministry context, it often becomes about the numbers game, right? And then it's like, I don't want to promote this dude too hard, because what if a bunch of my kids go to his church instead of my church? Or, we do an event and he gets to speak. Well, what if he does a really good job and then kids want to go over there? And it's like, it's about building the kingdom. But I also understand that tension of cats trying to keep their jobs. You know what I'm saying?
But here's the truth. I think, during the pandemic, right? During the pandemic, you said, you were pretty much holed up at the house, right?
Facts.
And so primarily y'all had to eat what was at home, right? Well, at my house, it was the same thing. Like, we had to keep the pantry stocked so the kids could eat. If the pantry wasn't stocked, the kids were like, hey, Dad, where we're going to eat today? Or they wouldn't even ask me. They would call their grandmother's house and be like, hey, I want to go to grandma's house and eat, right? Because they knew she had food. Well, it's the same with us as leadership in youth ministry and even senior ministry. If you are feeding your people, and if you are providing and having adequate access to resources in your home, it doesn't matter if you eat out every now and then. They're going to come look for food at their house first before they go try seeking food anywhere else.
That's good. Yeah, I get you. It makes a lot of sense. But I think sometimes that's some of the fear that creeps in and turns our mindset into a scarcity mindset, and we get competitive, right? And it's we forget that we're building the kingdom. It's about collaboration. It's about Jesus. It's about seeing his name lifted in our cities and in our communities. And so we become divided, and we slink off into our little silo. And that's not always beneficial.
Yeah, I hate the fact that sometimes the church competes with itself with those things. And sometimes we just forget that it's not about us. Literally, it's not really about us at all. But I mean, I think I don't want to get into that. Never mind. He's
like it's gonna be a whole thing. At the end of the day, the Bible says, "If I be lifted up, I'll draw all men." So who being lifted, you or him?
There we go. That's it, man.
Period.
Yeah, that's good,
Lift
bro.
him.
That's good. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's true.
Because we've seen a lot of people who lifted themselves up come to a really nasty fall.
That's true, bro. You ain't lying on that.
Yeah,
that's facts.
Yeah,
that's facts. I'm curious. Obviously, I know you're in the Black church space, right, in Houston, and I think obviously a lot of the cats that you've connected with. He said maybe. A lot of the cats that you've connected with are in that space too.
Yes,
what
sir.
is it like? What has it been? What is it like over there in terms of like crossing denominational and like ethnic lines? So like connecting with, more white suburban churches or, maybe Latino churches, all those different types of things. Like how is that in terms of collaboration? Is that difficult? Is it good? Is it at the beginning phases? Like what's going on?
You know what? It's there. I think people are attracted to commonality, right? So I don't think there is like, oh, well, we didn't invite you or you're not coming because we don't share the same ethnic background. I think it's just like, oh, well, that's just the spaces that we roll in. But I do believe, and I've seen where if the invitation goes out, I haven't seen anyone be like, oh, yeah, that's kind of a Black church thing. There's a couple of ministries that we connect with, one being Second Baptist, Lakewood. Those I have not seen from my perspective. Anytime I've reached out to them, there's another one here named Grace, where I've reached out and said, hey man, how do you do what you're doing? Like I see your Instagram, I see these wild parties. Like, how did you do that? And every single time they've answered. Here's the truth. Like if what do they say? Closed mouths don't get fed. And I think we oftentimes will put this wall up because of fear that, well, what if they tell me no? Well, what if they tell you yes? Like at the end of the day, if we're really about kingdom and that is a kingdom leader that is about it, then they're gonna share. But if they're not, what the Bible say? Dust the what did it say? Knock the dust off your sandals. Like it's all good. Go somewhere else. Don't get caught up there. What's it about? Your feelings or what you're trying to do in your city?
That's good.
But I can honestly say from my perspective, I have not had any ministry that I've reached out to be like, nah, I don't know, my guy. But also, yeah.
It sounds like, bro, you come in with a super humble approach though, because you're like, yo, how can I learn from you? And it's hard for somebody to like turn that down because you're approaching them like, hey, teach me something. Hey, I'm looking to learn from you. I'm looking to, see what you're doing well. And like, people want, like, if they're doing something well, they want that opportunity. I'm saying, to share that with other people. And I think like having that recognized by another youth pastor, another youth worker, youth leader feels good too. It's encouraging. So like, I notice in the way that you're approaching people that you're networking with seems very like smart and strategic. Does that sound about right?
Yeah. It is strategic. It is definitely strategic.
Speak to that a little bit, bro.
Well, here's the truth. You'll gain more friends in 2 weeks of asking about them than in 2 years of telling them about you. And so when you are intentional about relationship and you're intentional about learning and growing and asking and actually sitting in the space of others, they will be with you way longer than in the space where you're like, hey, let me tell you all the great things that I'm doing. Let me tell you what I got going on. Let me tell you. And they're like, oh, I mean, that's great. You know what I mean? I don't in any conversation, it's really fun when the other person talks too. So and that's my approach. Like, I want to know you, and if I can find commonality, man, we can grow.
That's interesting. It is perceived to be difficult to make friends when you have an agenda, you have goals. So to a degree, you have to put your goals to the side, even though. So how would you tell someone to how do I ask this question? How would you teach somebody to to make genuine friends without letting your goals get in the way. Because obviously, to a degree, the reason why we're making connections is because I'm trying to build something.
Right.
And sometimes my goals will get in the way of our friendship. So I'm not genuinely trying to be your friend. Right. My intentions to a degree isn't innocent. So like, can you actually make those distinctions? Can it actually be genuine? Like, how would you teach somebody that?
I believe every relationship has a level of what can I get from you?
Yeah.
Right. Every relationship is, if I can't get anything from you, like, why are we here? Right.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with having that intent in your communication or even in your growth strategy of your friendships. However, the Bible talks about, to the pure, all things are pure, right? That your intention first and foremost is, there's a difference between being a friend and being friendly, right?
Yeah.
That when you are looking to gain these relationships or in these moments, and there are some people who are, what's the old adage, a reason, a season, and a lifetime, right? You recognize those people that are in your life.
Yeah.
But I genuinely look at everybody like Thanksgiving. And here's my meaning. Thanksgiving, my family is very multicultural. So you might have enchiladas, fajitas, rib tips, sweet potato pie. Like, it's going to be, you're going to have
making Chris hungry right now, bro.
Have the spectrum. Well, he's not asleep, so it doesn't work. He has to be asleep. But,
that's right.
But I also have a dairy allergy, so I can't eat everything. So, but I'm going to eat.
Yeah.
So I believe that in friendships, in conversation, I may not agree with everything that you have to say, but if my goal is to get something from everybody that I talk to, I'm always going to win. Same thing with Thanksgiving. I can't eat everything that's on the table, but I'm not going to walk away from this table hungry. I'm going to find a way to gain from this.
That's good.
I like that.
Chris, I think to your question too, like, and Will, you hit on it, like, there is no way to get away from an agenda. Like, everybody has one in the context of relationships, right? I think being honest about your agenda, like, yo, I'm trying to build relationship with you for the sake of the kingdom, like just keeping it a buck, being honest.
Yeah.
And I think what makes a relationship different is the trust that's built over time. So I don't think it's necessarily about the agenda so much as it is the depth of trust. Do you know what I'm saying? Because the depth of trust is what allows for vulnerability and like deep connection, and you guys having a relationship that goes outside of, well, we're just doing these ministry things together. But no, I actually know who your wife and kids are, and you know who my family is, and when something's going down, I know I can call you to pray, or you're going to be like, yo, let me bring you meals. Let me do this for you. Let me help you with this. Let me help you with that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And there's a level of trust there that's built that just allows you to basically assume the best, right? Navigate the relationship in good faith. I think a lot of people, and I talk about this a lot, like as a mental health professional, like when people are communicating with each other, are you communicating in good faith or bad faith? So when there's room for assumption, do I assume the worst or do I assume the best?
Yeah.
And I think when you have trust, you assume the best. When you don't have trust, you assume the worst.
Yeah.
And so what you're doing in the context of these relationships is getting to the point where the best is assumed about one another. And I think that's where the real deep meaningful relationship is had. And so like what you're doing on the front end is working towards that. So I don't think agenda is bad. I think just be honest about it, because everybody has an agenda. Like, when I met my wife, I'm like, yo, she's fine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so I'm trying to holler at it. So like that was the agenda. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's the way it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think like you're saying, man, there's always an agenda.
And I like the fact that you were saying, like, be upfront about your, like, I mean, not saying you meet someone, hi, my goal is to learn your sales point, your sales point so that I can make money too. It's like, hey, honestly, man, I think you're killing it, and man, I want to learn how to kill it. Like, okay. Expectation without communication is chaos. Like, if you're not upfront about what you are trying to do and speaking on it, man, you'll be disappointed all the time. And that's in marriage, that's in friendships, that's in anything. Like, you set these expectations, but you've not communicated them. And that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. And I'm very glad that both of y'all spoke on that. And I think the good faith has to come from what you talked about earlier is Jesus, right? I have to have I have to trust that you actually want to see Christ be known, be right, make him famous, right? I have to trust that. And I think what you're speaking on, I think what you're bringing to this table is the conversation of collaboration of churches. And I think that needs to be talked about more, especially in the day and age we live in right now. And with all the talking about with Gen Z, culture, aesthetics, politics, the wars that's going on, all the things that we're struggling with in America and whatever and everything that the world is going through right now. Church collaboration needs to be discussed even more right now, right? And the ones who are trying to actually make Jesus famous needs to be talking, right? They need to be at the table discussing. And regardless of culture and how y'all celebrate, how y'all worship, like it doesn't matter. Do you want to make Jesus known? Do you want to make him famous? Do you want people to understand him? All right, then let's talk. Let's chop. Let's go grab some coffee. Let's grab some food and talk. I think that's what I'm getting from you. It's like you want churches to just collab, regardless of how you worship. I see that you're genuine about Christ. So let's see how we can work with each other. I got a group of people over here that's looking for a certain type of aesthetic, and I think you got that.
Yeah.
It's like how can we build this thing? Yeah.
Yep. Like we say in Houston, man, keep it a buck. Like be 100 with me.
Yeah, facts.
That's good. So what would you say, bro, to a youth leader who's listening to this, a volunteer, whatever, maybe even a parent who's like looking to build those collaborative connections? Like, what would be 3 things you tell them to go do right now that would help them in their city, town, community, neighborhood, like build those types of relationships that are going to be beneficial for their family and all the, beneficial for communicating the gospel, building that like kingdom community?
Wow. Well, if you're looking for people that you want to know, hey, is this someone that I can do life with, do work with? I would say there are a couple of things that I would consider. Number one, are they about what they say? Like, do your research. Are they smoke and mirrors? Like, because it's easy to be good. I heard my pastor say this one time. It's easy to preach one good sermon, right? But like, what does your history look like? So that's one thing, is check, do your homework on that person. Number 2, I would say, is this someone that shares the same morals that I do? Right? Do we share a commonality of like, I want to see this change happen? You may not be the same skin color as me, but you care about the same community as me. You may not come from the same background as me, but you share a same concern as me, right? Then the third thing that it is, and this one's kind of crucial, and I love it, is this someone that I can spend more than an hour with? Right? Can I sit down and have lunch with you? Because the truth is, if I can sit down and actually enjoy a 1-hour lunch with you, then chances are we probably can do some work together. But if over the course of an hour, I know it's not going to work, man, don't waste your time. One of the quotes that I love to say is, ships are supposed to take you somewhere. And so if your relationship, if your friendship, if your situationship isn't taking you anywhere, you need to abandon ship. And many times we're holding on to something with the aspirations that it's going to take us somewhere, and that thing is more anchored than anything in the world. And we're like, I just, and it's just as toxic as all get out. You ain't, it ain't, why are we still doing this? And Gary Vee says, hire fast. I know it says fire fast, hire slow. Right. So it's like, and I know that sounds hard, but it's like, take your time and who you decide to say, this is who I'm going to be with. This is who I'm going to rock with this person. Like, put your work into it. My grandmother used to say, pick your friends like you pick your nose, right? Very carefully. Like, you want to make sure that the people that you're with are people that you want to be with. And then recognize that we must lead with an open hand. These people ain't yours. They're God's. And so if you try to hold on to people, that just makes them want to run away even more. I don't know if you've ever, when you were younger, had the older people that would try and squeeze you and hold you tight and keep you and kiss you and squeeze your cheeks. And you're like, oh my God, get away from me. And they're like, I just want to love you. And you're like, I just want to leave you.
Yeah.
I think in the same thing,
yeah,
we got to love people in that same space. Like, hey, we can be cool and I ain't got to be all up underneath.
That's good, bro. That's really good.
Yeah.
So as we're wrapping up here, remind me of the 10 cities that we've got networks in right now, because if anybody is listening is in one of those 10 cities, obviously they can get connected to one of those networks. So let's list them off.
All right, here we go. So we're going to go from coast to coast. We start out with in New York. We got a guy named Kevin LaPierre. He's in New York. Then over in D.C., we got my guy Thomas Burkeen. Then we go over to Columbus, Ohio with my guy Brandon Grant. Then over in Cleveland, I got my guy Johnny Fine. We're going to drop down south in Houston, Texas. We got our guy Sean Nelson. In Atlanta, I got my guy Eric. Then we head over to the Phoenix, Arizona, where I got my guy Jeff. And then we roll over to Long Beach with my sister Amy. And then we have Los Angeles, where we are recruiting right now currently for a leader there in the great city of Los Angeles, California.
Okay, bet. So we got 9.
Oh, did I miss one? Chicago, Jonathan Banks.
Bang, 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 bang.
There it is.
Bet. 10 cities. Let's go.
10 cities.
And we trying to get more cities, right?
Yes, sir. Our goal is by 2050. The next 5 years to have 30.
Okay, bet.
So
are there any cities that are top of mind right now?
No, we have some, but I'm gonna keep that under wraps because
bet.
There are some.
Okay.
Looking at. Yeah.
I'm just trying to do a little promotion, just in case.
A little promotion, see where we're going. Well, listen, we're always looking for new cities, and our kind of our treatment for Are You a City is do you have 10 people that you're meeting with on a regular basis? When I say 10, we're talking about ministries and programs, not like 10 of your homeboys that all go to your church, right? Or your homegirls, but like 10 ministries or programs within your city. You're meeting on a consistent basis. You have some collaborative effort that's already taking place. It may be a camp. It may be a ministry program. It could be some mental health strategies that you're doing for your leaders or even your students as a whole. We're looking for programs like that, not to take over, but to come alongside, to resource you, give you leadership strategy, and further launch you. We have 3 tiers to the Fuel Networks. There's Gather and Connect, getting people together. There's Carry and Care. Let me see your needs and share my needs. And then last one is Create and Collaborate, which the goal is to create sustainable change in our communities, finding a need and creating something within our collaborative program that meets that need even beyond the leaders that are serving today.
That's dope. Dope, bro. And people can go to where? fuelnetworkpartners.org, right? To learn more.
Fuelnetworkpartners.org. There's a great blog on there. Every month we're blogging about what's happening in our cities. There's information. We're about to go on tour. We're going to be in 4 cities coming up soon. We're going to be in Chicago, New York, LA, and Houston starting in May and going through August. And so we would love for you to join us at one of those. I'm actually July. We'd love for you to join us at one of those cities.
Okay, dope. Thank you, bro. Really appreciate your time. Thanks for jumping on the pod with us, man.
Yes, sir.
Dropping some wisdom, some knowledge. Grateful for you.
Yes, sir.
And obviously excited to continue to work together in the future.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Well, as we always say, guys, this is the beginning of the conversation, not the end. You got questions, you got comments, you got concerns, you know where we're at. Shoot us a message. If you liked what you heard today, share. If you know some youth workers, some youth leaders that could do with this helpful content, share. We love you guys, and we will talk to you soon. Peace.